Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Gilda Evans, bringing you the Autism Resource Podcast. This podcast and the ARP website are your one-stop knowledge and resource base for autism and much more. I'm happy to have Devon MacNerland as my guest today. Devon is a neurodivergent advocate and documentarian. He has been working in this realm for several years and is spending his time and resources on bringing his cause to the media realm. Welcome, Devon, and thank you so much for taking time to join me today to discuss your work.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here. I'm really excited to share what I'm working on. It's something that I feel has affected many students and many people. I'm an ADHD guy myself, and so I've been through the IEP program. I've been through all sorts of crazy shenanigans that I'm sure that either you or your student will very much relate to. I hope not as much, but this is a cause that is incredibly important to me.
So tell me, how did you get started in neurodivergent advocacy?
Yeah, so it's been it's kind of been just stuck with me since day one. My brother is autistic and bipolar. I have ADHD and OCD. And so I didn't really get started. I kind of just had to advocate for myself. Unfortunately, through the education system, there is not a lot of backup. There's not a lot of backup when it comes to you. You are kind of told what to do, and you are sat in a corner. I remember in 5th grade, I was literally sat in the corner facing away from the whiteboard, not able to see anything. And then they all freaked out why my grades started plummeting. So I learned from a very young age that I had to advocate for myself. And I guess that's how the advocacy of neurodivergent issues in general came in, because I realized that I wasn't the only one. So, yeah, it kind of started out of necessity, which is unfortunate.
Well, then why did you choose documentary film as your medium?
Yeah, so I went to film school. I wanted to be a sci-fi film director. I went to Columbia College Chicago specifically because they had a motion capture studio with green screens and the suits and all that. It didn't pan out as much. And then 2020 hit. And I was kind of shit out of luck. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't go in. I couldn't write. I couldn't create. And so I started taking pictures of what was around me. And I started filming what was around me. And then the George Floyd protests broke out, and I started walking all over Chicago, trying to find which grocery stores were still open, because when the protests broke out, all of the grocery stores shut down, and they were boarded up, and nobody could get their food, and it was hard to get food to begin with because of COVID. And so I went around trying to find which grocery stores were open and which weren't, and I'd post about which stores are open or not. And so that's kind of how I got kind of started at it. And then I took a documentary class, and I had a wonderful time, and it felt right. You kind of move from place to place. There isn't as much pre-production involved, so for my ADHD, it was a lot easier to manage, and a lot more dopamine chasing kind of stuff, where you just get into the situation, you roll, and you figure it out in the editing room, and so it just kind of called to me. I've always been interested in journalism. In fact, I'm trying for my master's in journalism right now, and I started did a short documentary of the election, and then I started a documentary team with the goal of non-bias in media. That is something particularly important to me. I know that 24-hour news networks kind of run people's minds into like an anxiety panic attack, and so something that is incredibly important to me is to say, this is what is happening, and you should do something about it. This is what is happening. I'm not going to spend hours and hours and hours talking your ear off about every little bit of minutia that is unnecessary and tends to lead to a thought that divides people more than helps people get together. So I have sort of a goal to, I don't know, kind of bring peace. because
Well, that's a good goal. I like that goal.
Yeah, news divides people, and so I want it to start being the news again.
But tell me a bit about your current project and its focus.
Yeah, so it's a rough one. That I'm not like. It's not a very fun topic, but it is an important topic. So the Government Accountability Office, and this is something that I have my own, experiences with. The Government Accountability Office has been documenting restraints, the effects of restraints and seclusion tactics on children. And now, over, I guess, almost 3 decades it is now. They started kind of in the 90s, and they've been continuously bringing it up and bringing it up. They have shown the hundreds of thousands of kids affected by horrific restraint tactics that can end in death and most often end in bodily harm. Seclusion tactics that, in one case, I don't mean to bring the mood down or nothing, but in one case led to suicide. And so, and just in general, the way I was treated as a special ed student was not something that most parents would like to see. And I don't know, oftentimes you're not believed, or you're not taken seriously, or the district gets involved, or for one reason or another, this has gone under the radar for decades upon decades upon decades. Now it's been brought up in Congress, but it's been brought up in Congress several times since 2007. And it hasn't moved an inch because nobody cares, nobody has that sort of identity attached to it. It's just pushed onto the next session, or it's voted on and it's voted down, and then they had to bring it back up again. And so my goal is to bring it out into the light and put some public pressure on it. This is some of the stuff that you see in this report, and like these reports. Oh gosh, it's soul crushing. There was a young girl who was crushed by like a couple adults, so maybe like 400 pounds, and she had a knee on her neck until she turned like blue, limp and blue. She went limp and blue, and this girl was 7 or 8.
Goodness.
And they just didn't do anything, and they didn't think about that they were killing her. They didn't think about that they were killing her until it was way too late. I know there was an incident in Sacramento a couple years ago that people are still kind of trying to figure out. They're still in lawsuit, but the Guiding Hands incident up in Sacramento led to the death of a 13-year-old boy, because he wanted to write his name in the sidewalk. He was killed.
Oh my goodness. Are these primarily neurodivergent children?
Yes, autistic, Down syndrome, ADHD, a lot of ADHD, because they can't sit still. And so when your child can't still the solution that has come to some teachers' minds is to beat them to a pulp.
Well, that's just horrible. I mean, this is just horrible to hear. What do you believe can and should be done about restraints and restrictions?
Well, right now, I think it starts with awareness and collective action. Now, the parents of these children are very much aware, but the general public doesn't know anything about this, and so I think it starts with collective action. It starts with awareness, which can lead to collective action. Right now, it's a bit difficult, but make sure that your congressman knows what's going on. The school districts have been known to bite back, and so if it's put out into the open, if these school districts' behavior is put out into the open, there's not a lot of places that they can hide anymore, and they will have to kind of take responsibility. Now, a lot of people are scared to come out and talk about the school district's kind of hand in this because they are quite powerful and they have lawyers upon lawyers upon lawyers upon lawyers. But I very much plan to protect any constituent, any interviewee that wants to talk about their experiences. There have been threats. There have been tricky situations that have led to worse situations for their children. There have been teachers that have been teachers who have killed a student and then moved to a different school district. And that is all at the power of organizations that plan to protect these horrific teachers. Now, I'm not saying that teachers don't need protection. Teachers definitely need protection, but bad teachers shouldn't have anything to do with that type of protection. Bad teachers shouldn't be moved. Bad teachers should be put in prison. Teachers that kill shouldn't be teaching anymore.
Well, I certainly agree with that. Oh my God, this is just incredible. So what do you hope that your documentary will accomplish?
I talked a little bit about it, but I'll go into a little more detail. I really, really, really just want it to be known. Alan Moore, one of my favorite writers, he was a little nuts in the head, but he believed that like his writings were magic to an extent, and I kind of got what he was talking about. How if enough people read his book, then they will change their mentality, they will change the way they think, and that will affect change in the world. That will affect some sort of change. Now, he tried to write a book about that would bring on the end of this world and onto a new one. So he was kind of a little bit of a loony guy, but I still believe that sort of sentiment is powerful, that you can create something that can be deemed quote unquote a spell and it can enact change. So if I create this documentary, it can gain enough people's attention to where these kids are protected now, that these kids live a better and brighter future, that special ed is taken seriously. It is not just a room where you send these kids to get out of the way of the non-special ed kids. I remember in high school, the IEP class was just a study hall that took an elective away from me. And so that's all it was. It was just you sit down and you shut up and you don't talk and you do your work. There was no real help. There was just a guy sitting in the corner.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, this is an incredibly important topic, and thank you so much for giving a voice to this issue and to all of these young people who don't have the opportunity to express their own voice.
Of course. I really do appreciate you having me on. I appreciate being here. And it's something that I am incredibly proud to be working on. And I hope that we can move this further. Move this further.
So tell me then, how can our listeners find out more about your work?
Yeah, so I am working on funding right now. It is recommended that you get about a third of your funding privately before you start crowdfunding. I'm going to take that into major consideration, considering I am not the crowdfunding type. I don't really know much about that, unfortunately. So I'm taking it by the book, by the rules. So if you would like to contact me, and if you have any leads or you want to donate to the cause, you can contact me at nearlanderdocs@gmail.com. Nearlander is my brand. You can find it on Instagram as well, nearlanderdocs. But it's nearlanderdocs, NEARLANDER docs, DOCS @gmail.com.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Devon, for your time and for sharing your story with us today.
Of course. I really appreciate being here. Anything that I can do to help.
Thank you again. And you're welcome back anytime, by the way. Keep us posted. Let us know how it's going.
I would love to come back on. Yeah.
All right.
All right.
If you like what you hear, please subscribe to the podcast. You can find it on Apple iTunes, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and other popular platforms. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And you can always access us and other great resources on our website, autismresourcepodcast.com. I want to thank our listeners for spending part of their day with us. This is the Autism Resource Podcast, and I'm Gilda Evans, reminding you to take care of yourself and that special person in your life.